All right, guys, let's dive on into it.
Let's do it.
Good to see you guys. Steve, you barely missed our memo of black sweaters, but
Almost there.
right, you're nice.
I know.
A nice,
Feeling good.
nice cousin.
Sorry
to
about
us.
that, guys.
But you look fin.
So do you, Katie.
Very much. Today we are going to talk about really navigating economic uncertainty. My guess is that we'll probably go on a couple tangents about uncertainty in general, but I think that it would be helpful to unpack economic uncertainty, how to navigate it, homing in on really like how to anticipate when you should pivot, when you should hunker down. So to get started on that, it's always best to kind of define what are we talking about when we think about economic uncertainty, what comes to mind, whether it's like historic events or feelings that you have or traits that you see in the market. Bert, what do you think about when I say economic uncertainty?
What I think about when you say economic uncertainty is anytime there's an economic downturn. Because uncertainty is always here. It's always around. Nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knows what tomorrow holds in the economy for sure. So in that way, like there's economic uncertainty every day. But as we say it, I think we're really talking about what happens when the wolf is at the door and there's a downturn and you've got to figure things out differently.
Yeah.
That's how I think about it.
It's such a funny moment right now, too. Because it's like a certain uncertain time, right?
Yes.
Like there's so many things that will tell you that you should be uncertain. But then there's other things where like go to the movies, go out to dinner. Like people feel pretty confident as well.
Yeah,
So
and at the
it's
same
kind
time,
of such
there's
a weird moment.
There's like 4 hyperscalers right now that are spending, I think this year they're going to spend $370 billion on AI. So it feels like they're certain of something.
Yep.
Feels like they're certain that AI is going to be here. But with AI, it brings a lot of uncertainty, right? So
Yeah, and then the ripple effect of that spending, and then what's the implication of that down the line, and yeah, and then there's also just this sentiment of okay, what's the difference of the spending in that category, and then the spending of people and families and households, and how do those two worlds kind of collide? But when it comes to navigating it from a professional standpoint, and specifically from a leadership standpoint, Bert, when you think about as you're leading a company and you do see that the wolf is at the door or maybe approaching the door, how do you determine, all right, is this something that is a soft potential challenge or it is going to be like hard uncertainty? Do I hunker down and do we weather the storm on this, or do we really need to think about some hard pivots? How do you think about that? And if it is a pivot, how do you determine where you need to pivot?
Yeah, so I love this question. Have lots of thoughts here. So I think my personality type is really built to love economic uncertainty. I like change. Some people have said I like chaos. That's not totally true, but I like when the plan goes out the window and then you've got to figure stuff out. And so how I approach economic uncertainty, let's say in the case of a downturn or an impending downturn, is you have to assess and then you got to act, and you got to assess and then you got to act, and you got to act and you got to act and you got to act and you got to act. You will never be able to meditate or contemplate your way to action. You have to act, and you got to see what works and what doesn't work. You cannot be afraid to change. You cannot be afraid to pivot. You got to act. And I believe very much in taking the fight to whatever economic downturn there is, as opposed to just sort of waiting on it to hit you. And so it helps to be really close to the front lines, really close to your people, to your customers. So you're constantly assessing what is going on, what needs to change, what isn't working. And then you got to be willing to act. And what I love about an economic downturn or economic uncertainty, it just levels the playing field.
Yeah.
Now nobody knows.
Yeah.
Now nobody knows the right deal. So, okay, great. Now we're all even. Now who's going to be rewarded are the bold and the brave and the people that are willing to act.
Yes. The man in the arena quote stands out to me on that one.
Yeah.
When you said you have to be close to your people and to your customers, especially from your seat, that's definitely easier said than done. So how do you actually do that? And then how do you create systems to do that in a meaningful way?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just constantly calling our people and talking.
Yeah, you do that.
I mean,
You'll call like new hires.
Yeah, I mean,
Bert actually knows more than anybody.
Yeah, I mean,
He has the tea before anybody else has it somehow.
This is
weird.
Yeah, this is
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So yesterday we had our like awards call where I'm talking to the whole company and we're giving out awards and stuff. And I sent an email to the company. You may have seen it, like, hey, for any leaders that want to do a promotion,
Yes.
just hit me on Teams and I'll do a promotion on the call. Well, I had like so much to say on this call that a promotion came in I was supposed to do, and I just forgot. And I did the call, and I got done, and I was going through my notes, and I was like, oh crap, I forgot to promote this recruiter who was like sitting there waiting. She didn't know she was going to be promoted, but her whole office did, and they were like waiting there with like shakers, and then no promotion came.
Had the balloons ready.
And so I was like, oh my gosh. So I called Natalie Biller, who's our sales manager in IGH Orlando, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Can I still do this? And she was like, well, yeah, can you do it in like an hour? So I was like, an hour is horrible. I've got like a board meeting, like an audit committee meeting with my board in an hour, but I'm see, I can be late. So it was at 1. So I was like, just tell him I'll be like 5 minutes late. So I stayed and I called the IGH Orlando team together, and we had to talk about this really important thing, and I kind of made it heavy, but then I was like, actually, said Gianna Perello, you're promoted. And it was a kind of a cool moment to just promote her and to make it this intimate thing, but to stay close to the front lines in that way. And the audit committee didn't mind that I was 5 minutes late. But I love doing stuff like that. So, systems, I don't know. I mean, yeah, you can get all sorts of dashboards created and things to where you're looking at. It is important to know what are the KPIs in your business that can be the canary in the coal mine for when there's a downturn. So for us, it's if customer stops giving us openings, okay, there's something going on there. Or if our sales activity, the amount of time that we're seeing customers starts to drop off, okay, that could mean something. Or if our activity is increasing, but the amount of openings that we have coming in is decreasing, that could be something. So it's important to know what all those KPIs are. To have the quantitative data, but I love the qualitative stuff. I love just traveling out to offices. I try to get to at least 2 every single month, and then also just picking up the phone and talking to the people on the front lines or using Teams to do it, and you will learn a lot.
There's beauty in that simplicity.
Yeah, I think what's awesome about that, Bert, is it's like something I've observed about our team is this like relentless pursuit of the truth.
Yeah.
Where I think a lot of leaders fall short in these times of uncertainty, actually because they let their own bias get in the way. They're not actually asking people. And it's so common that the answers to the tests are like not in the ivory tower. They're like down in the organization.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you listening? And are you creating the collisions and the moments to get, because it's wild. Like when you're down in the belly of the beast talking to somebody, sometimes that's where the answer, like that's where you get the answer. You're like, wait a minute, what did you just say? Does everybody know that? Or were you all thinking about that? So it's like, are you there and present and finding the ways, like finding that moment to get with someone who is living the problem. And then also like, are you like in your own ego? Where you're the CEO, you know how to solve the uncertainty, or are you like actually there being like, tell me about what's going on. What are you experiencing? How could, like those are just such important behaviors as you navigate uncertainty.
And then I also think like not settling for the answer that you want to hear, because it's also easy to be served up. Oh, it'll be fine. Like this is just it'll change soon.
Yeah.
We just do need to hunker down. That is the easier thing to hear. But going back to your bias for action, when action needs to be taken, when others are just going to sit and be lazy and cross their fingers and hope that really the better outcome is what's going to happen. If you are willing to do the harder thing and take action, that's where the rewards come.
Yeah.
That's when you are rewarded and the company does grow or the team does succeed.
And so many people just don't want to do it. They don't want to act. They would just rather sit and wait. And that's what the rest of the world does. And so it's sort of, there's so much precedent to just sit and wait and, I won't be, nobody will mind if I do that because that's what everybody else is doing. But that is like how you fail. That is how you lose. That is how you lose your edge. That's how you miss opportunities. I mean, we've had so many opportunities that have created because of downturns because we've been opportunistic.
What's an example of that?
I mean, I think a great one is launching. It's like global health and COVID. Another one was, so in our industry, we saw COVID happen, scared everybody. Nobody hired for like a year, and then everybody hired a ton in 21 and 22. Yep. But then all of a sudden, that caused a lot of inflation. Interest rates started rising, and there was this threat of this impending recession that was supposed to come. So companies started going really fast to offshoring again. Offshoring was always sort of there, but companies really started pulling on that lever in 22, 23, 24. And so, yeah, we spun up the ability from our amazing corporate teams here and our amazing salespeople to figure out how to help our customers hire in areas all around the world where we had not done that before. In 2023, when we started, we had zero revenue in that division. now we'll have 150 million 2 years later. And so that is a cool thing. Offshore was sort of always there. We didn't really need to do it because of the current economic circumstances, but then you had economic uncertainty, which we could tell, okay, this is definitely going to drive more customers to try to lower costs, but they still got to get work done. Let's mobilize the teams here in legal and corporate and operations to figure out how we create entities all around the world so that we can support our customers there. And now that's always going to be a part of our business, and it's the fastest growing part of our business today.
Yeah. What about, so definitely bias for action, pivoting quickly. What are the things in business that you should never change? Like that you should remain to your core, that you should stay anchored to despite all of the chaos going on around you and economic uncertainty?
Well, I think values, I would probably start there. I would start with your company's purpose and your why and why you're here. Never is a long time though. I sort of don't love the word never.
You are having a physical reaction to that.
Yeah,
never.
I mean, never. It's like failure. It feels so final. So I mean, look, there's lots of great, but I mean, I'm a Jim Collins disciple. I mean, he writes a ton about what is your hedgehog principle, what is the things that you're always going to be so great at, and I very much believe in that. I mean, we definitely believe in hiring the best, having a culture of grit, having a culture wrapped around our shared values and those sort of things. But look, stuff changes, and I bet every generation says this, but it does sure feel like things are changing faster now than ever before. And so you can't be afraid to change with those things. You can't lose your soul in the process, but you need to be willing to change. And people aren't, because it takes effort and it's scary, but those are the companies you never hear from again.
Yeah, that's interesting. Steve, from your seat, during the last real moments of economic uncertainty, I think about, between 2021 and then now in the last couple of years, what have you observed about our company and when you were consulting other companies and other executives? What did you notice about those, whether it's the teams or the companies themselves, that were thriving and doing well versus those that were really struggling to break through and make those changes?
Start with our company. I think what enables us to do some of the things that Bert talked about, where we can take action and fire bullets and try to figure out the future, is just having such a solid base. And I think that Bert said it, when there's a crisis, when there's uncertainty, kind of actually opens up a window of change. And I think there's kind of two things that can happen. You can double down on your base of your values, of your purpose, and kind of solidify it more. And then you also have a moment to reconsider things and to question and to figure out, what do we need to do differently? How do we need to pivot? But what I think Insight Global has done so well is have this foundation that's sort of unfuckwithable. Because you're we're going to run P-Zone every day, which is a meeting where we go over our priorities. We're going to live our shared values. We're going to keep our performance standards the same. We're going to kind of ignore the news and not get caught up in the LinkedIn headlines and be like, well, you know what? We can't work hard today because everybody's quiet quitting. I think just there's this base that's just steady, and leaders are confident to it. And I think that's the thing you should be working hard, whether it's uncertain or not. You always have to be obsessing over that base, because then with that base, then you can iterate and innovate on top of it, right?
Yeah, something else I'll say, Katie, is it's important to have a plan, a break glass in case of emergency plan. So it's important to be sort of a studier of history. And when the 2008-2009 financial crisis hit, it was hard on our industry, hard on our company, but we still grew. And during that time, I was running an office in Dallas. We hired you during that time, and I remember studying the company and watching what our former CEO Glenn was doing. I remember that was that was your just openings dropped off a cliff. Nobody was hiring, so we created systems around how to get on more sales meetings and turn over more rocks and find more new accounts. And we landed more new accounts in that 1 year than we had ever done in the company's history combined. We put a lot more focus that year on how to build high quality relationships, because we knew that in a downturn, when somebody hires, let's say 10 people normally, but in a downturn, they only hire 5, they're going to go with the firm they've got the best customer relationship with. So those were all things that we took and figured out, okay, let's put a lot of these things into our plan for whenever we go into the next recession, we are ready. We know what's worked before. There's going to be some new things that we're not going to be able to maybe apply from the old downturn into this downturn, but there will will be some things that carry over. And so we're not going into things flat-footed. And I'm not sure if that's always done, if companies always sort of thinking that way, but having a plan, knowing what to do whenever the downturn comes is crazy important.
By the way, this is wild. You just made me think of this. I don't remember when it was. It must have been in the springtime whenever Carly was pregnant with Lucas. So that would have been like 2020. So spring of 2020. You had that plan ready for the company.
Was it already written out?
I remember where I was. I was like on vacation in Miami with Carly on her baby moon, and we were sitting out at a restaurant like on South Beach, and Bert was like, I don't know, it must have been like right before, I don't know. But Bert was just like, yep, things are getting weird. I don't know what's going to happen, but we have a plan, and here it is. And in 2008, this is what we did. This is what we're going to do. And there's like 10 bullets to it, but you ripped it. And I think that's to kind of answer the second part of your question.
Yeah.
Like the companies that don't do well in uncertainty is when leaders don't have a plan. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like there's things that we know, there's things that we don't know, but people want to know that you're going to be steadfast to principles and to things that are going to guide you. And I think that call was actually the beginning of like Be the Light call and all, like a lot of different. Do you know? Am I right? Of
course,
on that?
That was the March 12th call, and so I had that plan written out, and I added Be the Light to the end of that plan. Hey, the one extra thing we're going to do is we're going to work as hard as we can to be the light for those around us as they find themselves without jobs and that sort of thing. And that was sort of a new thing that we added to the plan that we didn't have in 2009, and that was something that gave our people that sort of extra gear to get to that they didn't know that they had, which helped us really respond. But yeah, I think as CEO, I hope all CEOs do this. I know I do. It's not that you're paranoid, but you're always thinking about, okay, what can kill me? What can kill me? What can kill me? And so you're always constantly obsessing over, I've got to perform today, but I've got to make sure that I'm planning for the future and I'm preparing for the future so that when something hits, I'm able to survive it and ideally able to take advantage of it, but certainly survive it.
Yeah. I mean, not to oversimplify, but I love the saying, have one foot in the present and one foot in the future. And then to add to it, you also were glancing in the past and saying, okay, what am I going to learn from that? So the actions that I take with the one foot in the present, the extra meetings or breaking the additional counts in the specific context of this is going to benefit us in the future because we know that the economy will, by the way, come back. We know that the United States of America is not going to completely fall and we're going to live in ruin, right, as a result of
knock
COVID.
on wood,
Yes. But that is such important perspective to have as a leader to rise above it and to be able to pull on that historical context and be able to provide that hope and give the people that are looking up to you for that guidance and that inspiration to provide it to them. I think that's
and I'll say on that topic, so again, dealing with economic uncertainty, how I deal with a lot is by acting. It's by acting and by changing and figuring out what works and then changing again and continuing to act. And while that makes sense to me and that makes sense to a lot of our leaders, that's a strain on the organization. That amount of change can feel like whiplash, can feel like what's the topic of the day. And so as a leader, you've got to be a great communicator, telling the rest of the company, hey guys, this is what we're going to do. This is why we're changing. This is why we're doing this over here. If you want the whole company to come with you and not fight you, then you really got to be great at communicating the plan and the changing and the why we're changing to the company frequently.
Yes.
But it's sometimes it's also like, I think a lot of times like navigating uncertainty gets so dramatized. It's like Winston Churchill, World War II, There's sort of an unsexy side of it though.
Yeah.
That's like getting clear on what's going on, kind of making some predictions into the future, defining your priorities, developing disciplines. Like 25 was not a super certain year for the staffing industry, right?
Yeah.
Competitors didn't do super well. Insight Global did very well. I would argue it was just kind of the consistent disciplines of our priority structure and of people rallying to that. Like, I think that's an amazing case study in how to navigate
go back
uncertainty.
to the communication. It's saying, hey, here is our plan. This year is going to be uncertain. And there's the work that we're going to do, the unsexy work that is just going on and doing the basics and the foundation things that we know to be true and yield results in our business. And let's see what happens. And then communicating that is actually leading to good results. That's what motivates people to continue to do it. So, I mean, communication really is so key in that, to go back to it.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing. Like whenever I actually feel uncertain in anything, it's like, okay, like back to basics.
Yeah.
Like simple disciplines, fundamentals, like the rituals that have gotten me here. I think that's the, like when people fail is when they go away from that stuff. That's what Jim Collins teaches us, right? It's like when you're like, okay, throw that away now. Let's go wizard our way there. Like that's what can get you in trouble.
But that's the tension of yes, back to basics, back to fundamentals, but you got to be willing to do some new stuff. And
For sure.
that was why I was so crazy about us figuring out offshore and how to do work internationally in such a bigger way 3 years ago, was because I had such conviction seeing what our customers were doing, hearing constantly from our salespeople. Remember Connor Nash and Tech, he was saying like, yeah, I'm losing to all these other firms that have all these other ways to do work overseas. And it's like, oh yeah, we have to now solve, well, we are already late on that. Why have we not solved that yet? So we figured that out. And of course it's hard, and of course it was a challenge, and it came with a ton of risk. But I'm glad that we did. That's why 2025 has been such a great growth year for us. But it's because of those steps that we took 2 years ago to build that up, to be a little bit different, and to change this sort of engine a little bit, so that we can unlock a whole lot of demand that was going to pay off 2 years from now. So that's the thing. Like, bets and changes can feel scary now, and sometimes they are. But what's worse is all the stuff, all the growth that you're forfeiting 2 to 3 years from now that you will really need, that will not be there because you didn't have the courage to make the bets today.
Yeah. Yeah, but selecting what bets are the right ones to make, I think that's also so difficult. And that's, I mean, at the end of the day, that falls on you because you have so many different opportunities. To go back to the investment podcast that we filmed, you do have so many opportunities, and a lot of opportunities. If you go after all of them, then that's noise and that's distraction. So the clarity of, okay, which are we going to choose and what will be our strategy? All right, offshore, international, that is going to be one of them. That allows our people to see, okay, this is the route that we're heading, and we can bring that to our customers, and that will yield success. If not this year, then in 2 years and 3 years. And obviously that's been the story that we've seen.
Yeah, and I think for me, I mean, this is just my take. What do I know? But most bets are just not that scary. They're just not that big. Like if we were to miss on international and turns out there's not that much demand there. Okay, say you spend a little bit.
Right.
I mean, like, yeah, you're going to have some people in the legal department pissed at you for having to do a lot of work that they maybe didn't need to do. Sorry about that, Melissa Conrad. But it's just
Find a place for Larry. It's going to be fine.
It's just not that.
Sorry, Larry.
It's just not that big. Yeah, if you fail, like you just learn a lot more. There are certain things that you can do that can really hurt. Like if you make the wrong huge acquisition,
Right.
That's like, a third of the size of the company or half the size of the company, and you get that wrong. Yeah, that can really hurt you. But I'm not taking a lot of those bets, and when you do take those bets, you need to get them right. But I think some leaders are scared to even take the small ones, and I love taking tons of small ones, and we see what works, and we kill those that don't work.
And that's the art, though. Like that's how we manage failure. And I think it's every moment of uncertainty provides an amazing opportunity to create something new. And I think your organization is only going to do that, though, based on how you think about fear and failure.
Yeah, right.
And if you got everybody in fear, and if it's not cool to fail or whatever,
They're going to keep their head
then
make
people
it
are just going to
fun.
be like,
Make it
great,
fun.
I'm just going to go believe that thing on LinkedIn. I'm going to stay right here,
Yes.
where it is cozy and safe.
Yes, I'm going to regurgitate all those buzz negative
That's right.
words.
Here we go.
Okay, so if we could give a playbook on how to navigate uncertainty, let's make it concise. Let's give the people an uncertainty playbook. How do we handle it? How do you go about navigating it? What's the approach?
Steve, after you. So I can think.
I would go.
Give me some time here, huh?
I would go first and foremost, live into your foundation. Hopefully you have a purpose and values that are very real. That's the time to whip those babies out and to stand firmly on them.
Okay, anchor to them. Anchor to your purpose.
I think you got to have a plan.
Okay.
And the break class of emergency, you got to be like ready for the thing that might come. And if that thing comes, guys, here's what everybody does. Here's where the exit is. I think you have to be listening to your people and listening to your customers.
Yep.
Way too often we fail because we believe our culture and we let our bias mess us up.
Okay.
We're Blockbuster. We're in the room. People love the store. They're never going to not want the store,
Yeah.
right? Don't be that. You got to be like questioning the most sacred of cows and listening to your people into the belly of the beast. You got to live into your rituals and habits, and don't get lazy. And then you have to make the moves to iterate and pivot.
Okay, I love that.
That's my playbook.
So anchor to your purpose. I'll reverse the order of one of them. So let's anchor to your purpose. Listen to your people. Really listen to them and your customers, so you can identify what are potential risks, what are potential issues. Sit down, craft a plan now. Don't be reactive, be proactive, so that you can break that glass in case of emergency. Be positive, bring that kind of light, be communicative is something also that we talked about. And give me the last thing that you just said.
I don't remember, but I'm going to add one more.
Yes,
really
let's
quick.
You can rewind. You can rewind the
I can
podcast,
clean it
okay?
Fine. Just
I can clean it up.
No, the one thing that all great leaders do in that last bit, which was about listening to your people.
Yes.
And then it was like making bold moves.
Yeah.
That was the last.
Yes,
making
yes.
bold moves. You got to communicate all the time, and you got to remember when you're communicating, your tone is going to matter a lot. And so what I'm trying to do in uncertain moments is I'm trying to have a level of confidence.
Okay.
And clarity. And I'm going to try to respect that people are probably scared, whatever. I'm going to respect that. But I'm also going to show some moments of swagger and just of being me. Like, let us not forget Winston Churchill delivered a lot of those messages in World War II from his bathtub, eating a proper English breakfast, smoking a cigar, just being him. And that's like,
That is
key, like,
swagger.
I always want to find these moments when I'm leading in moments of uncertainty where I'm just going to be like very authentically me. And then people can feel that. And I don't know what that is. Like maybe we'll figure that out one day. Maybe AI will help us. It's like the goo of a leader, but like there's something there when people like, oh, you mean that. Oh, and you're authentic to that. Whether it's because you're wearing like an orange beanie that's like 6 years old and probably smells like someone's done a lot of running, or like whether I don't know, you just do that thing that's like you're not supposed to do, kind of. Like that is the thing that you got to do in uncertainty, because people follow that person.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well said. Just to summarize of so much of what Steve said, have a plan. Get back to your fundamentals. Don't lose those. Don't be afraid to move off the fundamentals. Quickly become obsessed with the front lines, become obsessed with what your people are experiencing, what your customers are experiencing, so that you can know how to act and start acting. Start acting like yesterday. Act. Don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to pivot. And don't be afraid to seize new opportunities. There will be new opportunities. It's amazing. You be the first one to go seize them, and then just communicate to the organization. Tell them the plan. This is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And steadily communicate constantly.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys. Love it. Bias for action, baby. Do it.
Great.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. All right, here we are with our favorite section, Chat the Chief, where we talk to the Albert Bean himself directly with burning questions. All right, this one very relevant to the topic we just discussed. Who are some badasses?
I love all the acting. I love the many faces of Katie Hillary. It's just the best. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Take me off my march. All right. Who are some of the badasses that you admire who've led through uncertainty really well? Why do you think they were successful? So again, badasses that you admire who have led through uncertainty very well, and why? Why were they so good at it? These could be like historic people.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of history. I mean, my brain first goes to like one of, I think, the OGs of the country, and that's John Adams.
Okay.
Big John Adams fan. And this episode, I talked a lot about acting. That's all that guy did was act. I mean, he acted like crazy. Forget if I've talked about him before on this podcast or not, but I mean, he like...
You haven't, actually.
So first...
But John Adams is amazing.
So John Adams, so he was a lawyer in Boston. He was already like one of the top lawyers in Boston. Young guy, though. He went to Harvard. 1770. You know what happens in 1770? Boston Massacre happens, and so all these colonial folks in Boston were ready to totally like hang these like 5 British soldiers, and it was really bad because these guys had like shot into the crowd of American colonial folks and killed a bunch of people. And John Adams is like, no, hang on. We're going to be seen as a savage nation if we don't give these guys a fair trial. We need to like send these guys to court and let them stand trial. And there was like, well, who's going to defend them? He's like, I'll do it. I'll defend these guys. And turns out the Sons of Liberty and some other people had kind of was throwing a lot of stuff at the British soldiers and had kind of like caused them to fire into the crowd. And John Adams proved that out and got these guys off. Actually freed all these British soldiers. It's crazy. So one, he acts in that way just to be like, hey, we're a civilized nation. Now, about 5 years later, he convinces the whole Continental Congress. I mean, a lot of people get credit for this, but it was really John Adams convinces everybody, no, we have to go to war against Great Britain. We have to declare our independence. We got to do this. I mean, he's the guy that's like pushing that thing forward. he gets put on a committee with Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, and they together write the Declaration of Independence, and they say, let's go. He then is on a boat like within minutes to go to England. To go to France. This is like in the February time frame, I think, of 1776. In fact, before the actual signing of the Declaration of Independence, he never really even like left Boston or Philly. Now he's like going across the Atlantic in the winter with his 12-year-old son to try to establish trade deals and commerce deals with the French and with other groups in Europe. By the way, he doesn't speak any of the languages. He just speaks English to try to like get them into the war. I mean, the guy was acting the whole time to help the nation, but become the nation. So lots of people obviously helped with that. George Washington was around, Alexander Hamilton was around, and all that. But John Adams was just such a man of action, led into all kinds of crazy uncertainty. He's probably my guy.
Okay, great answer. As
And then
Steve
his
Harvey would say.
we actually might need to do a John Adams pod.
Yeah, there's a lot.
He doesn't get in the credit
there. No, he doesn't.
Now Hamilton
Hamilton totally like goes after him because those guys were like kind of big rivals.
Yeah.
And Hamilton was just like Washington's boy that he had taken him under his wing as one of his generals. And Hamilton and Adams were like at each other's throats for a lot of things. But I mean, Adams was so legit. I mean, first off, he like never had slaves, never believed in that, thought that was a horrible thing and a horrible stain on the nation. I mean, he was all about what is right is right. He actually, it's funny, whenever the French Revolution was happening, there was all these people in the U.S., including Jefferson, that were like, yeah, get him, get that anarchy, cut off Marie Antoinette's head. And Adams was like, whoa, we got to be a little careful here because like this is a crazy kind of anarchist mob that's happening under the guise of French Revolution that if we're not careful can spill over into America and can topple our young nation too. And he caught a lot of heat for that. People said, oh, you're just an imperialist. You want to have a king again. And it wasn't that, but he was trying to really thread this needle of like, we need to be pro the people, we need to have democracy, but we can't have like total anarchy just because people don't like the king.
Bert, I think that your second career, you have to be a history teacher.
Oh, no, thank you. Yes.
Like that,
or just
be
History Channel.
incredible.
I don't know. I can see. Yeah.
Yes,
You got to
yes.
spruce that baby up. I don't know if they're still out there.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, the way that you speak to that is like, I'm at the edge of my seat. I want to relearn history all over again.
Adams is great.
That's phenomenal.
So what if he had wooden teeth, all right? It was hard going to the dentist back.
Gosh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
It's a rough last tidbit to drop in there. I honestly was envisioning, he was so handsome the whole time you were describing him to me. That was
He not handsome. By the way,
He was not a looker.
but by the way, he and his wife were obsessed with each other. He and it's funny. My wife,
Love is Blind, not Netflix, just real life.
my wife makes fun of me because I'm sort of obsessed with Abigail Adams, even though she's been dead now for 200 years or more. But her and John Adams were like super tight. They wrote each other every day. I mean, they were like madly in love with each other till they died.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. So now I brought you back.
A little romance on the pod. Who saw?
She didn't mind the little tea.
I was not expecting a little romance. And Bert's view on romance. Anyway.
By the way, what's also funny is that Adams knew when he okay, so he is in Europe, all right? He's like trying to figure this out. He's trying to get people to come in. He brings his son, John Quincy, who's 12. 12.
Yeah,
and he
that's
says, hey man, gosh, so I got to get back home to mom. It's been like 2 years. I got to help with the war effort, but we got to like maybe try to get Russia to help us out. This was when they had like the Tsar there. So he sent his 12-year-old with this like secretary dude to go over there to like try to establish like diplomatic relations. We're not a country. We're just like a group of people. My 12-year-old, if George goes to the end of the streets to get the mail, I'm like watching him the whole time, like make sure kidnappers don't get him. And he's just sending his son to like another continent. And then he's like, I'll see you like 1780, we think? It's 1777 today? Yeah, I mean, so he did that.
That doesn't make any sense. That's
That was insane.
Anyway.
Thank you for that. That was fantastic. I feel like really no other question can back that. But
Yeah, so what do we have now?
one or
No, actually, one more.
Okay.
Holiday season, people are out shopping. What's the coolest gift you've ever received?
Oh my gosh. Well, I would say that's so hard. How do I think about that? That's not hard at all. It's the G.I. Joe aircraft carrier that I got when I was a kid. The G.I. Joe aircraft carrier Easily my favorite gift. There will never be it. I mean, we don't. We had to sell it when I was like in college, I think. I mean, it took up my parents' whole living room.
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember the aircraft carriers?
I do.
Yeah. I mean, this was like the thing. My parents had no money. I don't know how they afforded it. I mean, my brother and I opened up this box. It was like as big as this room, it felt like. Probably wasn't, but it was huge, and it was like the number one gift any kid wanted.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I'd say that.
Wow, Betsy Bean.
Very cool.
How nice of you.
Betsy Bean, another shout out.
Such a gift. Well, thank you, Bert. Appreciate it. Really wonderful to pick your brain. And
Great.
yeah, good luck, George.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Thanks, everybody.